Hello children, in this video I am going to explain you the last chapter of your book First Flight. The title of this chapter is The Proposal. The Proposal is a one-act play that begins with a young man, Lomov, presenting a marriage proposal to his neighbor's daughter. Before he could actually convey it to the girl, they enter into an argument about oxen meadows. Chubukov, the lady's father, also joins the heated discussion. After they end this, they entered into another argument about their dogs and which one is better than the other. In the midst of all this, proposal gets forgotten until Lomo falls off due to his palpitations, and Chubukov instantly puts her daughter's hands in Lomov's. Unfortunately, the quarreling still continues. So let's begin the chapter. The main characters of this chapter are: first is Chubukov, who is a landowner. Second one is Natalia, his daughter, who is around 25 years old. And the third one is Lomov, who is a neighbor of Chubukov. Okay, so let's get started. This play was originally titled as A Marriage Proposal, written by Russian writer Anton Chekhov. He displays how the rich want to marry their children into other wealthy families with the aim of enhancing their wealth. The characters are quarrelsome and often end up fighting over trivial matters. Still, they remember the marriage proposal, which will bestow monetary gains and finalize the wedding amidst the fighting. The curtain rises in Chubukov's drawing room, where Lomov enters fully dressed up in his evening attire. Chubukov stands up to greet him. He welcomes his neighbor Lomov very politely and asks about his well-being. While shaking hands, he also asks Lomov the reason for his visit. While thanking Chubukov for asking about his well-being, Lomov asks him about his condition. Chubukov replies by saying that they somehow managed to survive peacefully with blessings of people like Lomov himself. He asks him to sit down and be comfortable. Surprised by his formal evening attire, he questions the occasion. Chubukov has a very polite way of talking, and thus he often refers to Lomov as my angel, my treasure, etc. Lomov replies by saying that there is no such special occasion, and he had just come to see the Reverend Stefan Spetnovic. Still curious, Chubukov asked him the reason behind Lomov's outfit, because to him it seems as if Lomov is paying them a New Year Eve's visit. With all due respect, Lomov grabs Chubukov's arm and conveys his intention of troubling him with a request. With all the gratitude, Lomov mentions the times when Chubukov has helped him, and as he continues talking, he starts getting excited. To calm himself, he drinks water. Chubukov assumes that Lomov had come to ask for money, which he is in no intention of giving to him. He then asks him the matter of concern. Tremendously excited and nervous, Lomov couldn't even speak properly, to the extent that he was unable to get Chubukov's name right. He begs Chubukov's pardon for his clearly visible excitement. Lomov tells him that he is the only person who could help him in the situation, although he doesn't deserve it and has no right to ask for it. Chubukov didn't understand what Lomov was referring to, and thus he told him to talk directly. Lomov finally speaks up, only to confess that he had come to ask for his daughter's hand in marriage. Chibukov couldn't believe what he had just heard out of delight and thus asked Lomov to repeat what he just said. As soon as Lomov continues to repeat his words, he is interrupted by him, who is very excited. Extremely delighted, Chibukov expresses his cheerfulness and contentment. He fell short of words to express his high spirits. Overwhelmed on seeing his long due desire getting fulfilled, he kissed Lomov. He couldn't control but shed a tear on hearing the news. He offered his blessing to both Lomov and his daughter Natalia. Before he realizes he had been behaving in a silly way, he then calls Natalia to break her the great news. Lomov asks Chibukov if Natalia will consent for this marriage. Chibukov expresses that there is no way Natalia won't consent because she is longing for his love. He then exits to call her and give the two a chance to talk in private. Then Lomov feels nervous and shakes all over just like he's got an examination before him. He feels that it is in his favor that he already has his mind made up because if he gave himself time to ponder upon it, his marriage would end up getting delayed or worse, being cancelled. He reassures himself that Natalia would make a great partner as she is average looking, an excellent housekeeper and well educated. What else could one ask for? Still excited, he could feel some noises in his ears. He did not give himself the option of not marrying after he had reached the critical age of 35 because he wished to live a normal and ordinary life. He generally suffers from an abnormally high heart rate and gets upset easily. Even at that moment, his lips were trembling and his eyebrows twitching. Above all this, he doesn't sleep well. Whenever he sleeps, he feels a pull in the right side of his head and shoulder. Then he jumps, walks, and lies down. But as soon as he is to get off to sleep, he experiences another pull. This happens for around 20 times. Natalia enters the scene. Her father had told her that some merchant was waiting to get his goods. Lomov asks her about her well-being. She apologizes for her apron and dress as they had been shelling peas for drying and asks him to be comfortable. She even offers him lunch. On being asked for lunch, Lomov tells her that he had already had his, and offers Lomov to smoke. She talks about the great weather they were experiencing that day and how bad it was the previous day that the workmen couldn't do anything the entire day. She starts talking about her haystack and how she had been greedy enough to get the entire field cut, which is worrying her now. While talking, she suddenly notices his dress and guesses if he is going for the ball. She compliments him and asks him the occasion. Lomov begins talking and warns her that she could be surprised or even angry upon hearing. He feels strangely cold. Natalia asks him the matter of his concern. Lomov tries to be brief in his approach. He begins by recalling the good relations between both of their families from the beginning. His late aunt and her husband respected Natalia's parents. He even mentions that their lands are neighbors to each other and his oxen meadows touches their birch woods. Natalia questions the integrity of Lomov by asking if the oxen meadows that he claims to own are actually his. Lomov affirms. She couldn't believe what she was hearing because according to her, the oxen meadows are hers. Lomov exclaims that they are his. Natalia says that she was not aware of it and asked Lomov for an explanation. Lomov clarifies and points out the exact oxen meadows he is talking about, the ones that are wedged between birch woods and the burnt marsh. Natalia also confirms that she is talking about those particular meadows only. Lomov thinks that there is some misunderstanding that Natalia has because he is very sure that those meadows belongs to him. Natalia tells Lomov to think that for how long have the oxen meadows been his? Lomov replies that they have been his forever. Natalia commented that she could not believe him. Lomov mentions that he has proof that the land belongs to him. He even highlights that once oxen meadows were a disputed property, but the issue had been resolved and they are now his. He goes back into its history and specifies that his aunt's grandmother had given the free use of these meadows to the peasants of her father's grandfather. According to him, it was given for 40 years and the peasants got in the habit of regarding it as their own. Natalia disagrees. Since childhood, she has heard from her grandfather and great-grandfather that their land extended till the burnt marsh. She completely trusted them and doesn't see any point in arguing about its ownership. Lomov insists on showing her the proof. Natalia thinks of it as some kind of joke because she believes the land is theirs since past 300 years and now someone comes claiming it to be his property. Although the land isn't of much worthy, only around 300 rubles, but Natalia is highly disappointed by the unfairness. Lomov begs Natalia to at least listen to what he is trying to say. He mentions that her great-grandfather's peasants used to bake bricks for his aunt's grandmother, and as he continued talking, he was interrupted by Natalia. She expresses her reluctance on listening to any of his tales. She just knows one thing: the oxen meadows are hers. Lomov says that they are his. Natalia disagrees and tells him that he can do anything to prove his theory or wear 15 such dress jackets. But she will never accept the fact that they are his. She clarifies that she wants nothing from him and doesn't intend on giving anything that is hers. But the oxen meadows belongs to her. Lomov clarifies that even he doesn't value the oxen meadows much, but he is just being fair and acting on principle. He even offered to make a present of the meadows to her. Natalia offers to make a present of them to him because they are actually hers. She is shocked at how he is offering to gift her property to her only. She mentions that he had been acting very strange, and till then they thought of him as a friendly neighbor. But now he is not at all acting neighborly. Natalia's family offered him their threshing machine last year, even if it meant delaying their own process, but he has been treating them oddly. She feels that he is not showing due respect to them. He takes it as if Natalia is accusing him of being a land grabber. He gets offended and mentions that never in his entire life has he grabbed something that is not his. He cannot stand someone accusing him of the same. While sipping on some water, he mentions that the oxen meadows are actually his. Natalia still insists that they are theirs. Lomov is also adamant on his view. Natalia feels the need to prove her ownership and thus decides on sending the grass cutters at the location the same day. Lomov cannot believe what she says. Natalia insists that the grass cutters will be there that very day. Lomov threatens that he will hit Natalia's mowers. Natalia threatens that he should not dare to do such a thing. Lomov gets aggressive and mentions in a high tone that the oxen meadows are his and his only. Natalia asks Lomov to behave and refrain from shouting in her house. He makes a mention of his extremely painful increased heart rate and blames it for his tone. Even in such a pain, he doesn't stop claiming the oxen meadows. On hearing both of them fight, Chibukov enters to check upon them and ask the subject matter. Natalia asks her father to confirm the ownership of oxen meadows. Chibukov tells Lomov the same thing as Natalia, that is, the oxen meadows belongs to them. So this was the first part. Rest of the part we will continue in our next video.